Oh my god.
Oh
My god. We are live. Let's see what this looks like outside.
Hopefully we'll get to see it on our phones a little bit. Yeah.
Watch. Going back to Twitch, please show me the stream. Show me the stream.
Bro is searching his own name right now.
Oh my god. Okay, it has black bars, but
Bro is searching his own name.
it's fine.
The audio works.
The audio sounds a lot better than I
reasonable.
expected.
We can muffle it later.
Exactly.
We'll muffle
Hello,
it later.
people.
Are we gonna do the clap? Is it?
That'll deafen people.
Do you understand why people do the clap?
Yeah, no, it's like sync audio and video.
It's when you record them on two different tracks. We're doing it all on one.
Let me tell people we're live so we can test it.
Hello, people. We are live. Do you know what I could do? I could get Twitch out of my phone.
Good idea.
Let me get you off my phone, and then we're good to go. Live. Here we go. Go into creator mode. So I can see you all. I think. How do I view my? There's a stream manager. How do I view my chat? Oh my god, here it is. There we go. That can close. No.
He's figuring it out. I don't know. I've asked people for help in case
There we go.
In case it's awful.
I've got it there. Hello. Right. I think we're live.
Where are we gonna cut and start this?
I think we're live.
I'll get the team list up. Wait.
Welcome.
So.
Welcome. That sounds like you're on the other side of the planet. Says hello.
That's unfortunately the situation.
That is the best we can do.
That is unfortunately the reality we've...
Jacob is the worst person to be in the chat right now.
Actually
he's just
is.
going to degrade the hell out of us.
Doesn't sound like the Yeti or the snowball is being used. Are we sure it's being used?
It is.
It is.
It is. Wait.
It's just like on webcam mic.
Mike Orcs. Microphone Blue Snowball.
Blue snowball. It's right here. No, Jacob. It is showing blue snowball in the settings. So
Tap the snowball.
let there be light. Tap the snowball.
The red light's on.
Oh yeah, that's got to have sounded horrible for some people. You sound fine. Yes, Liam, mate. We love to hear it. That confirms it.
No, for real though, you're absolutely right. Like Jacob is the worst person to be here because he'll just find the.
Yeah, Jacob, this was set up in about 4 minutes, so I wouldn't.
With squeaky chairs and everything.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
Let's go, Jay.
Is that the Among Us? No,
That's
Fall Guys. Fall Guys, Among Us. It sounds fine for what you're doing. We will. We will take it. We will take
Let's
it.
start then.
Should we start?
Yeah.
Do you want to actually do a little bit of a proper intro?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah. You know, I can figure this all out in post. Oh yeah, we have black bars as well. We don't know why. We're literally like.
It's because it's a laptop. It's a laptop screen, which I think is pretty small.
I'm just gonna stretch us like. It's just like
full
just like long ass heads like in. Yeah, no 4x3. I don't know. Yeah, 4x3 black bars.
This
right
is
now.
actually a preview of our new show.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, like it's basically this is a bit of a nightmare. Like right now, we're trying our best. It's not even plugged into like it's Wi-Fi laptop. It's my dad's laptop.
Oh yeah, are we
Best thing
lagging?
we could do.
If we're not lagging.
If we're not lagging, it's absolutely incredible. Actually, to be honest.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. I'm gonna add a stream marker right there, and then then we can start.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's start. The tech issues out the way. Add stream marker. Don't know what that's done. Hey ho. What's going on, people? Welcome to 2.5 Talent in person. I mean, who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
Annie is in England, and of course so are we. We're in Trav's house. We're in like a little conservatory right now. We're gonna basically the way the plan is, because we're not really pushed for time, but rather than having like a normal 3-hour hoo-ha, we're gonna do just Rostermania to like right now, and then we'll do everything else at some point where we're in the comfort of our own homes. This will just be a special segment, which will most likely just be added on YouTube, but you get a stream version of it right now. Looks like a 2010 YouTube video, says Liam. Going well. We will be interacting with chat throughout, so if you're watching this on YouTube, you missed out basically. But yeah, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We've got a list of every single.
We're doing a giveaway. We should also mention.
Oh
that.
yeah, we are also doing a. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
We're also doing a giveaway.
Come on now, great host.
We're doing a giveaway. Motherfuckers be the three kids discussing movies.
Oh, we actually are. Oh, it's so accurate.
Were they talking about Brexit? Wasn't that like one?
I don't know.
I swear one of them was about Brexit. Trevor the Fury hat. Yeah, you're damn right. Right. So first of all, if you're here and you're not ready, we've got a giveaway. Go and join it. It's Neo Noir. Pretty nice skin. That's like 3 more weeks of running. So go and join in. I mean, it gets not 3 weeks, 2 more weeks because it's getting sent out the day before
Cologne.
me and Trav fly to Cologne. So go and enjoy. Tag 2 mates, follow. It's pretty easy. It's all self-explanatory. Somewhere on Twitter. We've retweeted it a bunch of times. But we're gonna just do Rostermania today. So it should be like basically about an hour, if not less. And the rest will be done at some point.
We say this every time.
We say this every time.
But
it's never true.
yeah.
But right, we've got a list. Should we start with a list?
So we've got a list. It's very, very out of order, but it's the
Yeah.
best I could possibly make it. So do you want to start with mid? I think we should start with mid first.
Yeah, that's
I have
Oh, have you put them into like
No.
categories? Oh right.
No.
Oh right.
I'm just saying. I think we start with mid because the first 2 teams on the list are OG and Fnatic.
Yes. Who wants to start this one? You want to take it to earlier?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
well, I think we'll preface before we even start that none of us have watched anything of Blast this week.
Well, you
Yes.
might have.
Just
2 maps.
Yeah. I have not watched it. I've watched about 2 rounds. Unironically, 2 rounds of Blast.
We haven't been near a screen or like an actual Twitch stream in like a whole week. So, and just in general, I think Blast.
Life.
Yeah, and no, just Blast in general is just like a seeding tournament, and it never feels like there's too much impact in the games, and teams are still kind of just feeling things out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably have a good idea as to where everyone's sitting, like Cologne-ish. But yeah, let's kickstart it. OG was probably the most disappointing like reveal of a roster I think in a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember they announced the first bit of like the core. It was like Regali, Nexa, and Fiku. And you know, I have my own issues with Fiku. I have had for a while, but still that roster, that core just felt like exciting. It felt like it had promise. It felt like we were heading for something really exciting. And then they dropped the last 2 players, Keto and Fasher. Keto obviously is a very inconsistent player on Big, and then Fasher being like the most disappointing piece on Fnatic, yeah, and being a part that we would actually get rid of. But yeah, I think that makes the rifle core just like non-existent, and I was just like very disappointed when the roster came out, because now it basically just all relies on Regali, and I don't feel like somebody that young should be tasked with that.
Well, especially considering the rumors that like Cypher was going for like a very small amount. Also, you know, proving. I mean, if everyone needed proof that like Harumi just chats shit, nothing he says is true. Right? It's all a lie. Like, do not believe that dude. As much as he like does like tweets with no accountability. I know Thor and Richard will hate him because he's just, you know, no face, no accountability, no name.
Yeah.
Don't believe those Twitter accounts. They're just not true. Like the OG one was pretty funny. Like when like Cypher followed one of the OG like sports directors or whatever, and then instantly Harumi tweets like, "Oh, he's going there," and then all it took was one text. Like, you go to OG, he's like, "I've never even spoke to anyone at OG." So don't believe those Twitter accounts. But yeah, you saw the interview with Nexa not even that long ago, like right after the announcement, and he was saying, "Oh, we're going to be relying on Regali," and I love Regali. Been a Regali fan for a while. I think he's a very, very good player. I think he definitely deserves to step up to tier 1, but I think it's a lot of pressure onto him to then become like, "Oh yeah, like you are everything here. Like if we're going to do bad, like it's because of you, because we're relying on you." So I think that's pretty. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of mid. I think Keto has been so average on Big for so long. It's so inconsistent as well. That it was like, again, that was like, why? Like, what's the point? There's so many people they could have gone to. They could have even actually gone for someone like Cypher.
Yeah.
And then Fasher as well. As much as I like the guy a lot personally, I'm still not going to change my opinion that I think he's been pretty poor for Fnatic compared to what he was like at, you know, Ecstatic before when he was dominating tier 2. Yeah, I just think this is a team that screams like 20th in the world, and that's it. Like, it just won't do anything. Like, kind of like how Big has been for the last however long, which obviously we'll get to them at some point, but like, I don't know, it kind of just feels like this team is like, what are they going to win? Like, what are they even going to do? Like, what's the goal? Like, I don't really get what the goal is for the team. Like, they obviously invested a fairly okay amount in terms of players, and these guys aren't really that cheap, like, considering they've all been in Tier 1. So they've brought Tier 1 dudes, barring Regali, up. You know, Fasha's been in and around Tier 1 now with Fnatic. He's been used to those kind of wages. Kito's been around for a while. So that's not a cheap team, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, compared to someone like an RV, the changes they made, cheaper than that. But generally speaking, it's not like they've got Tier 2 guys and they're taking a big kind of chance here. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what the goal is. Like, you're going to put all this money in, probably spending, like, God knows, like, 100 grand a month or whatever.
Maybe your peak is like, what, challenger stage of a major? Like,
yeah.
Competing for a legend spot at the very least. Like,
Exactly.
That's kind of where I see the peak of this team. Because I could totally see just open circuit teams just banging this team out.
We saw it in Gamers 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we watched party that, and they didn't lose to it in the end. I was watching it, but it was like...
Yeah, but Mao's lost too. Like, Mao's ITB, all the new rosters lost.
Yeah,
right?
lost, yeah. But yeah, basically, I just think like it's such a big investment for OG. Obviously, they're all give a lot of money, but generally, you've got such a big investment, and you're not going to get any returns there. You're not going to be winning competitions realistically unless they hugely overperform from what we've seen. Like we're talking just from what we've seen so far. Fasha not being able to compete at a dominant level at Tier 1, Keto being mid at Tier 1. Fiku's been actually underperforming to a degree at Tier 1, but then again, compared to what he was on previously.
He was even before, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a team that, realistically, if you look at any tournament, they should be in the prize pooling, or the big prize pooling. So they're going to be just losing money every single month. I just don't see what's the point. I mean, I guess someone's got to do it, but like, it feels like...
If they can get their stickers, I mean, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world.
Well, I was paying for like 5-6 months worth, and then back into just being in the negative, I guess.
The thing is, as well, is that, like, if there's one roster that came out of this whole thing, it's literally the one we started with for like our whole list, that reeks of like role players just being slotted in to fill a roster. It's OG. They just needed to fill a roster, and that's what they've done. Like, just picking up Keto, I actually like the Fasha pickup if they can get him in like good roles again, like you mentioned. But Keto as well, it doesn't seem right together for me.
That's the big thing people have mentioned. Actually, is like, oh, if they get Fasha back in, because he was in pretty uncomfortable roles in Fnatic. He wasn't actually playing like wasn't playing in the hero roles. They liked, but he wasn't playing like exactly.
Hard entry,
So he was kind of playing actually pretty dog roles. So they get back into good roles. But then when we saw him in the Gamers 8 quals, he was not even entering, which is something that I thought on Ecstati was actually pretty good at. Because he just let him like free reign basically. It's actually Keto doing all of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to be doing. I don't know how much time they've had to practice. Probably like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't know.
It actually looks like all of these teams that are new have like had barely any time in boot camp, which is a bit odd. I think a lot of them are treating this event like it is just a boot camp.
Yeah, blast. Yeah.
They said that themselves. I think some of them. Yeah, for sure.
So 1 to 10, where we put in. I think it's like a 4.
A 4, yeah.
Because I like Regali, and I think
Regali makes this roster a 5 for me.
Okay, fair enough. There's good. If they're a 5, I'm really wondering what your 1s and 2s are.
TSM.
We'll get to them.
I think I don't have TSM on the list. I'll add it. I'll add it on the list. So next one, Fnatic. Bench Nikodos, lose Fasha to OG, signed Dexter and Afro. And Dexter, of course, I mean, he's brought that Mouse team to pretty high placings at big LAN events. So I can see him being able to lead experienced heads like Crims, and now Mezzi's been free to the IGL role. Yeah. He can be let off the leash. But my question is, Afro has been farming for LDLC, but that's Tier 3.
Yes. I mean, for me, there's things I like about this Fnatic one, and it's not the change they brought in, it's what the change they've done to the players that are already there. Like, the big one is letting Mezzi go back and play every hero role, make him be like the star player again. Because there's actually something Smooya said. Again, not a guy that I would agree with too often because he has a lot of shit. But a really good point he made on HTV Confirmed, which was that if Mezzi was like 10-20% more like selfish, he'd be one of the best riflers in the world. And I stand by that. I actually agree. I think he's incredible. But he's too nice, when Fnatic had a lot of problems with the need an IGL, he was like, I'll do it. I've never done it before, but I'll do it. Like, I'm sure it can't be that bad. Yeah. But obviously, it hindered his personal performance to a degree. So yeah, I think for me, I like what it's done to players like Like Messi, obviously getting him back into being somewhat comfortable. I'm interested to see kind of how things start around it. But like you said, Afro, he's averaging like a 1.2 something or other in the last 3 months. But LDLC play like just dog shit opponents. It doesn't make a difference. But I think of that ex-Heat roster, him and Body are the two ones you really care about. The rest of them, as we've seen now, looking for org, that ex-Heat team, they're kind of mid. No one really cares about them. They're losing to here, there, and everywhere. They're not an important team anymore. They played in the national championships, lost first round to Eternal Fire, 16-5, 16-6. They're not a good team anymore. They've lost the two best players. They're not worth it. So the two good players actually moved on, which is good. I think Afro is incredible from his ability, but can he do it at tier 1 is a different question. I think they needed the change though because Nikodos was so mid and just not doing anything for a long time. The only thing I do worry about, which is the thing that everybody worries about, is Dexter and Orpers. I think that's the big Mao's talking point. Dexter can't use Orpers. Is Afro going to struggle basically?
See, I think I'm not really very high on Dexter in general. I was really disappointed with how on Mao's. Regardless of the placings, it was like the fashion in which they were doing it was very disappointing. It never felt like they had any real depth. Like the T sides were very like pack oriented. None of the players never really looked like they had any depth to them. And
Creeper.
But not many of the players had much depth to them, and the good thing about this Fnatic roster for him is that now he has Messi to potentially help him secondary call, so that they could have much better mid to late round, which I think that Messi was learning how to do like towards the tail end of that iteration. You can see on maps like Overpass where he would have some really cool mid rounds like that he was like outsmarting James occasionally. I think Dexter could work on this team specifically with Messi, which is kind of exciting. I don't know about the Afro move. Maybe if it was like earlier, like after, like the highs of Heat, right after that, and he moved over, maybe it would have worked. But now I feel like, the problem with playing at such a low tier, like the one that LDLC plays in, they probably create a lot of bad habits that it's hard to like just kind of reroute yourself. Now you're back in tier 1. When you're playing these partner org tournaments, like you can't make mistakes. You can't go for that extra repeat. You can't make that ballsy play because people take man advantages so much more seriously nowadays. And you can get away with that in tier 3, but maybe not in tier 2, and definitely not in tier 1. So I think that's what worries me the most. So the step up in tournaments, the difficulty level for Afro. And then can Dexter actually hold together Afro? And then also how is Messi going to factor into the secondary calling? I actually think that the IGLing situation might be pretty nice, but I'm still not very sold on Afro because it's very much like a similar identity opper like Nika does, where he's like this very flashy opper that can have some insane ratings, but then when he falls off really, really hard.
Yeah. So I lost the chat. I was trying to get it back. But I wasn't listening. Yeah, I got it back. Oh, Dream, thank you for the 69 bits.
Hell yeah. Nice.
Swimming in those bits.
So like they're the mid. Wait, they're the start of the middle. So yeah, I think Jacob wants to put our caps on backwards. There we go. I've just seen Liverpool are losing to a team I've never even heard of, which is going well.
That's nice.
Who knows what they're called? But yeah.
Next one.
We got quite a lot.
We've got quite a lot.
We can do rumours, I guess, as well. Of like we can get TSM. We do them last, I guess.
We do them last, yeah, because I don't think that's
not really confirmed.
Not confirmed. So let's go for one which I think is probably more highly regarded. I would say, Vitality plus Flames.
Yeah, I like this. I feel bad for Dupree, but I fully understand Vitality. Like. They look into the future here, which I think is always good. Future proofing is so important. I think so many teams we've seen the complete opposite. Koff, Astralis, who just don't future proof well at all, and then have so much dead wood left around. Like Glaive, Glaive and Zip are still on contracts until 2025. Like, dude, imagine having them play not only next year or the rest of this year, next year, and then the year after as well. I want to gouge my eyes out. So. So yeah, it's a lot of teams are really bad at future proofing. Vitality seems they're very good at future proofing. I like this move. I think Flames is very good. They got him on a free as well, so it's just a win-win. It's
shrewd.
It's
shrewd.
It's a top rifler on a free transfer to replace a very aging rifler who is still very good and still definitely can play, and I'm hoping does still play at like a good level. But when you look into the future, they've now got this kind of the Israeli duo, both incredibly high impact, both know each other very well, coming into an already very well esteemed roster. In my eyes, this is a team who should remain the way they are, top 3 throughout the rest of the year. They should be in that conversation alongside the likes of kind of Heroic, who are still consistently performing at an elite level, but also probably. Pie thrower.
We've got a pie thrower reply on Twitter, so we have to take advantage of that.
But yeah, it's good business. I just think it's very decent. I completely lost my trail of thought there.
No. I just think it's good. Like, it's future proofing. Like, people will say, "Listen, you've just literally dropped your 5-time major champion, best major player of all time, right?"
It's like 74. You kind of got to make a choice.
Yeah, you got to move on, right? You got to move on. I think it's a good choice. Picking Flames, as you say, just shrewd business move as well. If you get him on a free, a player of that talent, if there was one player to get that it's possible that you could do that for, it would be Flames. I think it's the best choice possible. Whether Vitality can win another major with Flames is another matter. But yeah, I think it's probably the best situation they could have done for the team. Consider if they were going to make a change, they've chosen well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit actually. I mean, I think it's a great move in the sense that like they are going down in age, like the average age is going down. They don't have to really worry about experience anymore because you still have Apex and Zonic, you still have Magisk, and Spinks has been in Tier 1 long enough now. He feels acclimated. He feels like a Vitality player now. It feels like we're starting to have the nth part of Spinks in the rearview mirror. And now it's time for him to become an elite player. And now you throw Flames into that. It's exciting for sure to have him, reunite with Spinks again. But my main issue is just that the roles just feel out of whack. And they will have to have a little bit of a growing pain period. Obviously, I'll just say at face value, the results are still seemingly okay. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's still worrying because, it took so long for Vitality to get acclimated with Dupree and Magisk that I'm hoping that Flames can acclimate a little bit faster. Considering he's played on international rosters, I think it won't be a problem.
Yeah.
But the fact that exists is just a bit worrying. And
also, assuming he plays the slightly less impact roles, generally speaking, let's say for example,
if he slots into Dupree's roles, that's what I'm worried about is because Dupree is a very static player, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he plays these anchor roles, very shit roles, frankly.
Yeah.
And he's not given much chance to move and take impact roles, right? But then you've got players like Zaiwu, players like Apex, and even Spinks at times at different parts of the map as CTs that really want to make a decision and make a move. If you have a fourth player into that mix, that's when it starts to get a little antsy. Like, you're gonna have to really be on commission, per round on a per round basis. Like, look, we know Flames is getting a little antsy. Let him go make a move now. But there are certain situations where Flames has to realize, I've got to play this like a Dupree, and Apex and Zaiwu are taking let's give an example of a vertigo ramp. They're trying to go aggressive. Zaiwu fighting from yellow, Apex fighting from front ramp, from front ramp. And, at that point, if you're a B anchor, you can't just say Flames go aggressive down to B stairs. Yeah. That's just going to just throw the round in complete disarray. So I think the most important thing is they've just got to make sure that Flames understands what his role is and that he doesn't go overboard. Yeah. There's coaching staff up the wazoo there. I'm sure they'll have enough ready for them to make sure that he's acclimated. But that is what I'm worried about. I don't think it's an A+ signing. But I think it's an A signing or a B+ signing.
Of those who are free, though, who else would you have picked up that in your eyes was better?
I know. As far as roles are concerned, it's really hard to fill that role because there aren't many options. Perfecto would have been interesting, but
obviously English.
Exactly right. There's downsides to every player that you have, And so I think with how young Flames is, I think that's what Vitality looked at most importantly. They're like, he has the most potential. He's
so moldable as well.
Right. And I can just see by his personality, he's very willing to, put up with a new environment and learn from, more experienced players.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, is what Vitality was mainly looking at. And as far as that's concerned, I think, you've got it nailed down to a T. You'll be comfortable eventually. You're not setting up to win 2 months from now. You're setting up for 6 months from now. And with the way the schedule is right now, it makes perfect sense. You'll peak at the right time, which clearly Vitality have done a very good job learning how to peak at the right time with Paris. So, let's keep moving, I think.
The big one everyone's been talking about, the one that people have very mixed views, and some people hate it, some people love it. Navi. So we've moved on from the Ukrainian/CIS roster. We've moved on from Electronic on Perfecto. They've gone to a very exciting place, which we'll get onto later.
Yeah.
But now we have Imma, JL, and Alexi B, and Navi have finally gone international. And while I love Imma, I love JL. They both were the stars, or some stars of Paris.
Mm-hmm. Probably of the tier 2 boys, alongside Cypher, they're the best audition
and Boris.
ever. Yeah, of course, yeah. They're
Boris,
one of the best auditions on a big stage, kind of.
Absolutely. I mean, they're absolutely brilliant picks.
Yeah.
And then you have Alexi thrown in, and I think they're all not bad picks individually, but are they good picks altogether? And that's what is going to be very hard to tell. They have not had the best start. Some teething issues, I think, in Blast. We haven't really watched much of Blast, but
haven't seen it.
Pure results basis.
Purely results. I'll take your word for it.
Purely results, but I'm going to rate it straight away. I'll let you guys go off of it. I'm going to rate it a 7 because I think it's exciting, and I think it can win things. Mm-hmm. But consistency and longevity, I'm not sure if explosive players like Imma and JL necessarily have consistency.
The only thing that worries me about this team, I like Imma. He was very, very good for Gamer Legion. The big question, of course, is everyone about roles. I think that's like the big thing of like how they're going to slot in. But for me, I think the most thing that I just personally, how the hell does Alex keep failing upwards? Like it's insane. Like you come into a roster, do fuck all, nip, nothing happened. They got worse. They actually they got not even arguably it was fact. They got worse. They just fell down the rankings, bombing out of every single tournament, playing some of the worst CS we've seen from nip. I'd rather get right on offer in the server, right? Just wasting our time. And then he does a terrible job on nip to the point where he's the main talking point of him and maybe Hedrick probably arguably being a better rifler than Orpa is the other one. But generally speaking, it's just this team is so bad. Then he gets benched and Hampus comes back and everyone's thank God,
we can mix nip in with this as well.
I guess because the conversation kind of follows. But Hampus comes back and everyone's celebrating. It's oh my God, we get to watch good CS again. And then it's okay, well, who's going to take the risk on Alexi now? Surely no one. And he goes to argue one of the biggest organizations, the only organization that's been at every single major in CSGO. I don't know how he does it. He is the best agent in the world. I want his agent. It's incredible.
I think I'm fine with the Alexi B move. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'll push back and I'll say, look, I think NIP, was definitely a failed attempt. And sure, maybe even the G2 one was a failure as well. But I do see caveats in some of the rosters that he was on. On G2 especially, I think that he had a huge issue with Xtaz, and that was my main thing. Mm-hmm. That I didn't feel like Xtaz and Alexi was ever on the same page. And by the time they were, one had to go, and then Alexi B was on his own, and he had to work with Swanee, and I just don't think it worked. And obviously, he had to deal with a lot of big egos, and I think you can still chalk it up to a failure on his part. But I see with the work that he did, I know it was a while ago, but OG didn't have a single top 20 HLTV player for its entire iteration. They made multiple grand finals, and honestly, it was the peak of that organization, I think, period. And from then on, I don't think I've ever seen anything of semblance from OG since then. And I have to give that credit. I have to give that credit somewhere to him that he was able to do that. And as with ENCE as well, again, beyond Sergey, There was no firepower on that team, and they still managed to get results. Of course, now that you have all the firepower in the world, what can you do with it? That's another question. And if he can't do it now, obviously, I think this is my last chance that I would give him.
I just don't understand how these guys are going to play a rigid style. Like, he is rigid in his calling style. I know he does.
Right, of course. I mean,
he's got one of the loosest AWPers in the probably the loosest AWPer in the world, barring Dexter, who really doesn't like to stick to a system.
I know there's a lot of egos to play with because even Imma, right? I know he's a very selfless player, selfless person outside of the game, but you look at his game inside the server and. He takes up a lot of resources, man. I mean, he is third in on T side. He is like a rotator on CT side. So he's taking up a lot of resources on both halves of the map.
Yeah.
And he actually needs a lot of space. And if he doesn't have that space, he's not going to get the numbers. It's not something absolutely insane. Like he is not like this playmaker by any means, in my opinion. I think
it's more JL in this team.
I think he's a cleanup guy, which I think every player needs. I mean, you look at Spinks. I mean, he's able to do it on Vitality. He's able to do it very well. But when you have a player like Simple, who needs every bit of space possible, you are second to him, like guaranteed.
Yeah.
And if Navi breaks that, that's kind of worrying. It's either that has to happen where Simple takes a backseat, which is just an effort and a half for coaching staff and Alexi B to deal with. I don't think that's going to happen. So you got to go with the latter option. With Imma's got to kind of be under the beck and call of Simple. And I don't know if that's going to happen either, and that's the huge risk. That as well, you throw upon the English side of things, right? Bit's form was already super inconsistent, and now he's got to talk in English. Like that's just super worrying.
Some of his interviews as well, where he's had to speak in English, are like, that's it's a hard language.
It's hilarious, right? Because they go down the pecking order of who's getting interviewed on Navi. Bit's like the last guy on the list, you know.
Even dude who doesn't speak English very well.
Even Electronics more willing.
Yeah.
And with how active Bit has slowly been becoming within previous Navi iterations, it's like it's really worrying because it looks like on paper there's so much firepower on this team, but this core could just fall apart like instantly, and you could have no reliable firepower, and this team just dies on contact. I wouldn't be surprised if they bomb out of Cologne.
I mean, I've already kind of given up on Alexi, but this would be kind of the "I told you so" kind of thing.
This is the final nail in the coffin if it does happen. But
I just don't really rate him anymore. I just think like if I was Navi, I don't know if they could have because like we don't know the specifics around contracts and whatever, but like I would have gone balls to the wall for Shuhei. That's the style of caller they need. Like super loose, who can actually. I think obviously we've seen it with Imem, but can actually play this very like fluid style because he's quite young and quite like, adaptable in that sense. A very kind of aggro but fluid caller, like young, willing to try stuff. That's what they need. Not this guy's got such a rigid system. And then you know whenever we talk about systems as well. If you mention the word system in Counter-Strike, the first thing that comes to the vast majority of anyone who follows the scene is Blade systems. Then you already, you got the clash of like two different mindsets here. So
which already was an issue on G2. Right?
Yeah.
So they've got to make sure that they're on the same page, or we're gonna have another G2 repeat. Like that is the worst case scenario. And of course, I'm sure he's learned from it. But that's not to say that. I mean, I think arguably there's more egos on this team.
100%. I mean, technically speaking, everybody apart from Bit is an ego. Well, like for Aleki to deal with, but the other three, like JL, very cocky dude, which is also what makes him good because that's what you want as your big, kind of heavy impact first in rifler. You want him to be cocky. I think like what's the point of being a timid entry rifler? It's pointless. But yeah, I just think that is going to be very interesting to see how he deals with them. I don't think he's got a big voice as well. I know obviously. He's obviously in interviews, no one from that entire region. We've all seen the interviews. They're the worst ones you can get. It's like getting Alu in an interview. Like whenever you got it, like fuck me, here we go. So trying water out of a stone. But I don't think he has a big voice to be like simple. Shut the fuck up. I don't think he has that. I don't think he has the balls. Like
the thing that worries me as well. Like you've all detailed so many worries. One worry that actually hasn't been brought up yet is that I actually am of the opinion right now that Simple is declining slightly. Just in general, I think he's past his like absolute. He's still incredible, and I think he's like nailed on, still second best player in the world. But we'll have to see how that goes by the end of the year.
He might not even get second the way.
I don't think he's.
Now it's actually kind of crazy. I don't know who would get it, but like
maybe Shiro. I don't know.
No, it hasn't done enough in big events. But
I mean, the crying will take -2 off.
That's the thing, though. Like, I think Simple is on the verge of, like, he's not going to be, for me, unless he somehow finds something amazing in CS2. I'm actually of the opinion that I don't think Simple can be number 1 in the world again in the rest of his career.
I mean, there's actually, like, I don't personally have the opinion. There's people who are now very heavily leaning towards Zyru's the GOAT kind of thing. Not of all time for CSGO, because he just wasn't in it long enough, but like people are now being like, well, definitely like the last 5 years, there's no comparison. And fair enough, because 2018, when he first came in, first 2 years, right, he's already up there. But yeah, I mean, if things continue on the same track record, I think I saw, I can't remember what it was, one of a big personality in our industry was just talking about like the people who are going to do really well into CS2 is like the people who just dedicate their life to the game, like, you know, Manesi, who's like finding bugs in 3 seconds. Basically. Exactly. Yeah. So they're the ones who are going to do really well, because they're going to figure out the mechanics and all the little niches and whatever super quickly.
And that was Simple before, you know.
But I just don't think it's him now, right? And I think that's where people like Manesi will come through, or Zywu, who just pugs all the time.
I think that's going to be a thing with Alexi, right? You're talking about, will Alexi fail again? I think that could be a contributing factor on why he will fail again, because Simple's not at his peak and hasn't been for a little bit.
Yeah,
I think the big comparison that I always make is when will Simple consider himself not to be the star anymore and to take a little bit of a backseat and start to play a little bit more rigid? Perhaps never, right? But I always
does he have it in him?
I always mark the analogy between I don't watch too much League of Legends, but I know enough to make the comparison. But you know, I think everybody knows Faker.
Name only.
Name only.
I know the name.
But he is the Simple of League, right?
Yeah.
And
what double lift?
No, he's
okay.
washed. Yeah.
Right.
Basically, this guy has like amassed like a crazy amount of titles, right? And at the very beginning of his career, he was that like super young, like flashy, like important impact player. But slowly, as his career went on, he realized that he was not as good at it anymore, and so he would start to take a backseat, play more supportive roles, and try to lift up the younger players on his team. When is that flip of a switch going to come in Simple's career, if ever? Because, you know, there's also situations where players never get that like ego in check and just throw away the end of their career, even though they have that opportunity. So
I've got a prime example: Cristiano Ronaldo. This dude, actual serial waffler. For any football fans, this guy every 2 minutes he's like a bad footballer now, and all he can talk about is like, you know, how he's amazing essentially all the time. It's actually quite cringe.
And so we've seen like both sides of it. I mean, throughout history, it's like what side of the coin is Simple gonna fall on? This is one of those iterations where he's gonna have to make that decision because he's not gonna have many more chances. I know obviously the value of him being on a team is just so immense.
Yeah.
But when is an org like Navi going to say, you've dropped below the threshold? You've got to make changes. Yeah. I know it's like so far into the future, but you've got to start making those decisions like now, or else time's gonna catch up to you really, really fast. You know.
Yeah, I do wonder whether he ever gets to a point where he like just has an understanding like, if we want to get back to winning, it might be worth me
to take a backseat. Yeah,
we'll see. But rating wise, I mean, this for me,
I'm gonna go at like a 5 because I can see it really working and I can see it really failing. And for that, I just put it smack dab in the middle.
I'm going to go for a 5 purely because I actually really like Immer. I think he can do quite well. Just from seeing in the major, like on a big stage, the guy fucks, right? But I don't like Alexi, so he brings it down. So for me, I'm going to go, I think 5 feels fair.
Will I give it a 6 or a 7? Would I give it?
You get 7.
Give it a 7? I'll lower it to a 6 then.
There we go.
Yeah, so lower it to a 6. So next one. Considering we've just spoken about them, I think probably it's fair to go into probably one of our highest rated ones. I get the impression it will be throughout the episode. Cloud9 have created a super team. They have finally moved on from, as Murray would very nicely say it, Nafoni or Nafordini. They've kept Hobbit and they've kept the goats, the mini goats, the next sort of era of sort of CIS, Russian Counter-Strike. Axile and Shiro, they're the current era and they will be the future era too. And they've added the previous era from Navi in Electronic and Perfecto. And holy shit, this is the number 1 team in the world in my books.
Incredible, like when you actually deep it. So you've got they've kept the 3 best parts of that team, who all work actually quite well together. Got rid of the dead weight. Buster was awful and has been awful. The worst decision to sign him ever. I just, again, comes back to all of us, I know you're like me, all Axel lovers out there. When the change came through and they got rid of Axel, bring in Buster, we were like, this is going to fail, I promise you. Sorry. I'm tired, it's been a long day. When they got rid of Inters, and all us Inters lovers, we were kind of saying, like, this is going to fail. He's actually so crucial to the success of this team. And you won't realise it now, but you'll look back at this and we'll get to sit here and say, I told you so. Yeah. And now I can very smugly be like, I told you so. They needed someone like Inter the entire time. But they've gone on, so they kept the three best parts, got rid of the dead weight. I still don't think Nafny was maybe the end of the world. This is something I was saying when we met up with Scriv and Yumi the other day, and something I was talking about was saying, I think the big thing that Cloud9 still lack as a coach, because while Groove is Groove, he's a general manager first and foremost before he's a coach. I think they still need a coach, in my opinion.
I
which
agree.
is where when
I wanted Hooch for ages.
I don't mind Hooch either, but there was also the rumours of Blade leaving, obviously before Simple dispelled them pretty quickly. But there was those rumours, and I was like, oh, if Blade goes to Cloud9, then we're like not only are we cooking on gas, like this is
they're stacking chips.
Yeah, this is a meteorically incredible team. But still, they've gone on with they kept the three best parts of Cloud9 and then added arguably the two best people they could have added. If you think about it, there's no better leader in the way that they wanted it. How they're going to run this team of experience and someone who can play at the top level, can be essentially one of the best players in the world in electronic, and there is no better support rifler from that region. Obviously, we can talk about our heroics boys, but generally speaking, even Perfecto still remains in that conversation despite Navi's downfall.
Perfecto and Shush, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfecto and Shush as the clutch players, Perfecto and the clutch especially. Actually, it was always insane in the clutch.
They've quite literally added the two best perfect position. I know it'd be people talking about the IGL, talking about Jerry or talking about Chopper or whatever, but they just don't compare to what Electronic can bring to the team. So basically, this I'll just start off the rating straight away and say this is a 10. That this is not only a top 3 team, but I think you could even make the argument and say this is a top 1 major winning team within the next year. That's how good this team actually is. You've got the best rifler in the world coming off the back of last year. Granted, the team took a bit of a dip, but as a whole, he should go back up to being a very solid top 3, if not higher rifler in the world. You've got the top 3 AWP, and the way he's playing, honestly, probably going to get back to the number 2 AWP in the world because Simple's dipping off a lot. Won't catch up to Zywoo. No one's going to catch up to Zywoo. But number 2 AWP in the world, and maybe even player if they really pick up high into CS2. And then you've got the best support player, one of the best support players in the world, in Perfecto, a leader like Electronic, and the kind of just the do-it-all of Hobbit, basically, and man who can slot into anything. This team is incredible. I'm so excited for them.
Yeah, I think as far as intangibles go as well, it just reads so well. One of the key issues that C9 had was mentality problems. Yeah. You have players like Shiro who would just break down. You would have players disappear in big events, i.e. Axile in certain stage games. Of course, you have Dallas as an outlier, but he also would have a dip in form. Mm-hmm. And Hobbit is not as vocal of a voice as people expected him to be. And
he's quiet,
dude. You would expect that Nafany has all of that to do, and I don't think very clearly he wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
And so they would never get over that big event hump. And so now you have that opportunity that you've got so much experience in Electronic and Perfecto. They know what it's like to win championships. They know what it takes, and they know what they have to tell to these players to kind of get them into gear. I'm fully expecting in one of those 13-13, 14-13 situations where they've lost a massive lead and they have to close it out and the pressure's on.
Yeah.
Where Cloud9 would usually crumble, I don't think Electronic and Perfecto are like those players.
They're going to let them either.
Yeah, and that's where you can get a Perfecto clutch to come out of nowhere. Or maybe just an incredible Electronic hold from a certain part of the site, or a crazy entry or something of the sort, right? And so the fact that potential is there, I'm not even thinking about day to day. I'm thinking about if they get into the same situations they were in before, I now know in an 80 to 90% chance that they will get over that hump this time.
Yeah.
And that mentality issue will disappear, which makes it so to speak, that they don't really have to change the system too much. They don't have to have anything fancy in terms of strategy.
Yeah.
They've got so much firepower on this roster. Electronic can just call it. He can just straight up call up defaults.
Yeah.
Have some very basic executes and just let his players off the leash. I mean, you've got some of the best entry players in the world.
Yeah.
And now they can just wreak havoc on that side of the map. On the CT side of the map, I mean, you've got one of the best anchors in the world in Perfecto.
Yeah.
You can make Hobbit put Hobbit in those roles now as well.
I mean, Hobbit can do anything realistically.
Yeah,
and
Hobbit
he's pretty selfless.
And now
you're happy to do it.
You can get more perspective out of Shiro. You can start to make him a little bit more aggressive. He doesn't have to be as passive as he was before. Obviously, he's improving in that regard. But now you can even let him even more off the leash. Now that you've got the comfort of a player like Perfecto, and I think very easily Hobbit can get slotted into that role as well on the other side of the map. And then you throw Axile in there as well. Like, that's just, it's so exciting. I mean, there's so many different perspectives and ideas that C9 can go with now. Like, that there's just so much that they can work with. I'm just so excited to just see the kind of reality that we're about to face with them kind of approaching Tier 1 now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well is that you're right in saying it's like, if they'd have kept Nafany, we'd be like, like this lowers it to like a 7 from like a 10, I feel like. Yeah. But keeping Hobbit is just, I think, is going to be like, it could not be better. Overall, it could not be better. He can still, like, was he calling it when he was IGLing? Was he calling around himself?
I think he said he was secondary calling, but I don't really feel like,
because he was bringing up really good numbers for a little while, especially Gambit youngsters going into the Gambit.
Yeah.
So like on T sides, he would have like solo entry duties. So like I think he was playing the A entry, and I think Axel was B entry, or vice versa, something like that. Yeah. But basically, he would call for himself. He'd be like, "I'm going for a timing here. I'm going to entry out apps or ramp." I'm still not sure, but he would usually get the entry, and then they would basically like shift their mid to late round over to him. Okay. But as they progress to land, it was happening less and less. But again, I think that could open the door now. Electronic needs all the help he can get. I think a Hobbit can definitely do that. You know, just chime in here and there.
Yeah. On just a slightly funny note, we were talking about this in when we met Scrib and Yumi. We were just saying.
Did you win at pool, by the way?
I mean, no, I won one, lost one actually. I think
I saw the Instagram story.
I completely threw. I was absolutely like flying around, and I got like, it was like I had 2, Yumi had 5. And I just started just hoofing and hoping it would just bounce off all the cushions. And then I was like, and I just threw it right at the end.
Unlucky.
But then I won the second game, so we'll take those. But one thing I was saying was like, that first day of prac must have been just an absolute shock to the system for Vector Electronic coming over and be like, what do you mean you guys don't throw flashes? Yeah. Like, would you like?
You don't have executes.
Yeah. Do you know what a default is? Like, it's just like these guys just lost. It's like them trying to, obviously they've gone from working in Blade system, all these like super specific call outs as well. Like not even using normal call outs, using like numbers on different maps and stuff.
Booklet of strats.
Yeah, and then coming over towards C9, I was like, what do you mean you don't have a strat book? Like, what do you do? Like, where's your document? Like, just a mess. Nothing there. And then Groove's just, like, looking at them, doesn't say anything. So, very, very, very interesting. I'm hoping they're going to whip them up pretty quickly, but overall, happy. I would still like at some point to see them get an actual dedicated coach. I'd love to see Groove move to the GMs. I think he's brilliant at signings, as we've seen. They just need a bit of maybe strategical depth to help out the likes of kind of the guys who do some of the calling, like Electronic and
imagine if they got Blade as well at some point.
Well, yeah, that was the rumor for a bit, and I was like, that'd be sick if they did. But yeah, no, onwards.
Yeah, onwards. Okay.
Yeah.
So Paladin has taken his liquid hat off and put it in front of the screen. So I think it's fair to take a little detour, maybe, to North America, and talk about probably the pain that Paladin shares about the decision the Liquid made to finally move away from North American core for what is the first time, I think completely the first time ever, and go international. And they've gone for Rainwaker and Patsy, of course. And Rainwaker, we've had a lot of chat about him in the past. He was very good on the Bulgarian teams of Scaling 500. I really like Rainwaker. I think he's a very good, calm player that Liquid would need when they've already got like talents such as Yakinda and Naf. Of course, we know Yakinda's going to be IGLing now, but still. But I am of the opinion that Patsy is a bigger question mark than Rainwaker overall for this team. And of course, losing Elige is basically like losing the identity of Liquid. Yeah. He was on Liquid since 2015.
8 and a bit years.
8 and a bit years. Like, they completely lost the identity at North America. And Launders made a really good point, I think in one of his HLTV articles, I think that one of the interviews that they did with him, saying that like, Like Liquid are just kind of dead to me because of this move. Like
he was really not happy.
Having to go to the EURMR now and make it through, which is looking like it will obviously be a much bigger challenge than making it through North America.
I don't see that. I don't think they'll make it. Not first round out.
So let's see
Open
what
circuit's gonna be just nuts.
Yeah, them jumping into. Oh my god, the shock of the system. Gonna have fucking NAF calling against.
Yeah, you have fun playing CIS.
Yeah, you got NAF calling against like Deco and his like 17-year-old
have
mates.
fun with that.
Like there's just like I honestly just think they're just gonna get banged out. They're gonna get Astralis basically for the first. What happened to them in Rio? To like all 4 attempts, but that was lucky as 4 attempts. Not always 4 open quals. So yeah, I mean you've got the kind of the points here basically. So take it away.
Yeah.
But
I woke up one morning and saw this move and I was
fist in the desk.
I was just absolutely like just appalled. I was so confused because I mean, of course, Liquid's identity is North American. On a business perspective, just brand wise, the guaranteeing of stickers in North America, the guaranteeing of being just invited to all of these teams automatically because of ESL World Ranking and all of that good stuff is all just thrown away. Because you want to actually replace. First of all, I think replacing Leech, I think it's fine to do. But my issue with it is, my issue is that. But the issue with that is right. It's like even though he's mid, right? Is it worth losing him and becoming an EU team because of that? Is my problem, right? And
it's such a risk.
Yeah, it is. It's such a huge risk. That wouldn't you at least mind trying to slot Elise back into some different roles, see how it would have gone, maybe see if he was a bit more comfortable. Possibility of that was next to not after obviously he got dropped. But then you look at what the changes are, and Yekindar is now becoming an IGL, which of course I think he was definitely calling more than he was letting on when Nitro was on the team. Which is fine, but again, it was nothing ever like, oh wow, Yekindar is such a great IGL and Liquid has such great strats and such great mid. That's definitely an issue. And the huge selling point of Yekindar is always going to be his entry fragging. And now that's gone. He's going to become a pack player essentially. And then he's just another average rifler. I think he doesn't have the craziest spray. I mean, it's always been his first bullet that people look forward to. And the fact that now you have to rely on his spray, that's again, you have to mold yourself in a different player. And then after that, you look at Patsy. Of course, I think you're exactly right, Trav. Like,
sorry, I'm playing this. I
literally just I didn't break it. Like, they come off. Like these are blinds, right? And they have a little twisty thing.
Yeah.
That has that makes them open. And I mean, I could literally like pull this one up right now. You can see the garden. Like, here we go. Just do this quickly.
Yeah.
Don't break the chair.
It's like we're like in the jungle.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Look at that.
Oh my god, that lighting actually completely shifted though.
It did. It completely shifted, didn't it?
I'm sure it's fine.
We're fine.
But Patsy, I think you're definitely right, Trav. It's like Patsy's had a huge dip in form and spirit that since Antwerp, I never really saw the flashes of that same player for like quite a long time.
He's meant to be the space opener, right? He's meant to be like really creating
space.
Right.
And so I think I was talking to Yumi and he was definitely mentioning that he was like, I think that Yekindar saw Patsy, a little bit of him in Patsy, and so he was trying to take Patsy and have that player be Yekindar for the team, which is like not a bad idea, but I still think it's a huge risk. And then after that, I think Rainmaker has been talked about all across Tier 2 as the next prospect. And look, I love the kid. I like the prospect. I like the idea of his intelligence, of how he approaches the game. He's very much that style of player like Perfecto or Shush, where he knows that, if he's in a 5v3 and he has to stall for a little bit, he knows how to stall and wait for backup, get 2 kills where he should only be getting 1 or 0. Mm-hmm. That's always a very valuable skill, and you have that with very aggressive players like Yekindar and Patsy. That's an exciting addition. But to me, it's like the reason why I don't like it is that you're taking a chance on a rookie that has never played really in Tier 1, bar like a couple RMRs that they've bombed out at 500. But that risk is and when I say risk, it's not even the level of playing in Tier 1. It's you're now playing Tier 1 EU. You're giving up the NA brand for this kid.
How many spots is there now?
I think you guys have one more now.
Is it 4 legends, but then like 8 challenger? I don't know how many it is.
Well, I think the legends one it changes distribution depending on how EU did. So I think they might actually have one more.
Oh shit! Yeah,
because I think no NA teams or no America's teams, no Asian teams made top 8. Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. Liquid made.
They lost Apex, in the quarters. Yeah.
But they take the spot with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
now.
We have no legend spots.
4 spots, all challenges to NA.
Yeah.
Also, as much as
or 3 spots.
I'd like to whinge about
4 spots. Yeah.
Deserve. Shit region.
Fuck it.
No, but in all fairness, I think South America is stronger than NA now.
No, yeah, for sure. Like, I think there is
NA
nothing.
as a region is like
it is dead. Yes, it is dead.
But I don't think it has to be that. I just think it's generally your support system coming through, like your tier 2 is like abysmal. Like it's like I just think it's always the easiest thing for me to go to, just because I see it so abundantly, is when you've got fucking Mythic playing ECL. Like that would just never happen. Like never a stream team playing ECL.
I think the support system would have been there had Valorant not existed. It's a super stupid thing to blame. Yeah. But you look at some of the players that they had that left. You had Wardell, you had Vanity, you had all these players that they didn't have.
I'm glad you didn't say that other one.
Yeah, I didn't. I held myself.
That fucking fraud.
But they all had potential. They had potential, right? But they never actually showed it. But I think if you had given them enough time, but if you had given them enough time and enough space on an actual NA team, maybe they could have done something. And the fact that that's not there, it is kind of disappointing. I understand why Liquid was looking to EU, but it's still just very upsetting that
they could have still stayed with Swisher, right? That was the big one.
They could have tried Swisher. They could have They could have kept Elige. One of the two, I think they could have still tried.
I think Elige needs to. So personally for me, I think Elige needs to go. But I still was surprised they went EU. I thought they would have just picked up maybe another EU guy for Yukindo to call with, i.e. Patsy, but then stuck with gone with someone else basically. And the one we kind of spoke about was Swisher. It was like, okay, he would. We were also saying Swisher would be really good on complexity as well. Obviously, we'll kind of follow suit straight after. But yeah, the big thing is just the loss of the spot for the region as a whole, because it now makes your life so much harder.
Now you're going EU, right? And then it's like, what is the point of having OC on the team? Which is the most appalling thing I think for everything. I was like, there are so many CIS operas right now that the world was their oyster from the pick of the litter. Yeah. And so much money to dump for these players that they would just instantly come to this organization.
You can just look at ECL right now, and every game is decided by Orpas. Now in the EU, it's incredible how good some of these guys are. And to me, it's
what do you guys see in OC that is not wanting you to pick up a Russian opera? I really just never understood. And for that reason, I was really disappointed. I was like, yeah, you're going EU, but at least commit to it.
They've half-assed the commitment, bro. Because fair enough going for commitment, that's ballsy as hell, but then you've got to get rid of the dead weight. Yeah. And obviously, Liege was some dead weight. He's been playing really badly. The last year has been rough for him. When you look back, it's tournament after tournament really bad. The major was really poor. Even before that, it was pretty shaky. So fair enough. I understand the want to move him off. I think right saying his contract is up.
I think so.
Yeah. But then, you if you're gonna stick with it, why are you sticking with OC? We've just seen on a tier 1 level, the guy just cannot compete. Ever since he got picked up, they should have gone with MHL. 2 years ago when they were NAF was thinking about it, because he has a higher potential in my eyes.
Oh, absolutely. I think he is the heart and soul of this team now, and he's always been doing good work. I mean, I never had any problems from him. Even when he joined the roster all the way back when the whole Grand Slam period, he understood his role so well. When the team was in flux, he was always the safe pair of hands. Rating never dropped. Always understood okay, this is what I have to do, and I think it's still continuing. I think rating wise, he's hitting peaks now too. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to Naf staying on the team. Worst case scenario, I think Naf can leave, go to an EU team, and still perform. I think he's got
easily.
But Naf can go back to Renegades.
Yeah, he can.
Bring him back. Yeah. Get Gasol coaching.
Yeah.
There we go. We get the whole squad back together.
Just keep that nifty guy away from me.
keep that fucking fraud. Who's you playing for again? Control or whatever they're called.
It's Take Flight.
Take Flight. Dumbest name, man. Then
take flight, FLYTE, right?
Yeah. I just love like every now and again I just see Nifty beefing some like 200 follower dude on
from Advanced,
just like every 2 weeks or something, just swinging for the hills or some random advanced guy who's just going, he's just riling him out. It's just like you're mid, like, whoa, he's like so quickly like ready to scrap. Like these long threads as he was going at some one dude and just kept going back and saying how bad he was.
Oh dear.
But rating wise, I'm gonna give it like a 4. Like I know that sounds so low, but I'm just really disappointed in him.
I said this. I think it was either in our chat or one of the group chat we were in. But I said I can't remember. I need to find what it is. But I'm pretty sure it was in our chat. I like Rainmaker. I actually think he's a very good player. He was incredible in all the Bulgarian mixes that came through. And all the Bulgarian guys always speak super high of him, like especially the old heads, like the guys who've been around for a long time. Red Star at one point was probably the biggest name in Bulgarian Counter-Strike. Like Duplica's like probably the oldest name in Bulgarian Counter-Strike at the moment, who's still active. And they would always say that this guy is so smart for how like young he is. So isn't he 18 or something like that? Like he's still
19,
18 or 19. Yeah, he's so young, right? And it's like this guy's good. If the team's gonna do like badly, I don't really think you can blame him because of the roles and the positions he's playing. Like generally speaking, he's
Were we talking about Rainmaker's age?
Yeah,
I think he's 21.
Oh, is he? Even still, it's not
too bad.
It's not even. It's still not old in the grand scheme. But yeah. I think another thing. I can't remember who it was. Someone again on Twitter was calling him a rookie. He's not a rookie.
He's
like
not.
he's
He's
played
played so many maps. Like he's just had. Sure, it's online Counter-Strike. The biggest issue with Rainmaker is going to be LAN experience. He's had so few LAN opportunities.
Well, he played for 500 in the PCC, right? No, Elisa, sorry. Elisa, when you
yes,
casted it?
Well, there was that. There was...
they did well at that.
So they played Elisa Espo. They made the playoffs against Elisa Espo. That was
overperformed massively there.
They overperformed that in the BO1s. But don't forget that was group stage BO1s. No qualifying BO3s to make it to the main event. So that's
major tech issues.
That's
super late.
That's a caveat for sure. But yeah, I think... He, in general, while he has all this experience, it's all online. Like his LAN experience is limited to a good performance in IM4, which again was a bit of a weird format. IM4 back in the day,
and that roster at that point was dead. So.
Yeah, that was the Skade roster that did part ways after that.
It was just after they had
they got so close. I think every single game went to like 16-13 plus, like either 16-13, 16-14, 19-17 or overtime. They were so close to actually getting wins. They didn't make it. And they bombed out of the Blast RMR like pretty quickly, right? Was it Blast RMR or the Rear RMR?
Closed call for I think Blast.
Okay, so I'm thinking the Rear RMR. Yeah, okay.
They weren't there, right? No, it was.
He was definitely.
I'm thinking of Emmy and not Emmy Rogger. Sorry, that iNation team. That's what I'm thinking. They were like
Partisan.
No, the iNation one. This Blast RMR. I was trying to think. It was like the. Basically, it was the worst team there.
Yeah.
It was just them. I was like, was it 500? No, it was iNation.
Yeah. They struggled. So it's like 3 decent lands in what? 3 years? Like it's not really.
I feel like though those Bulgarian guys just don't give a
Well,
fuck.
I mean, as I said,
they just don't.
I said this to someone else who asked my opinion on it. It's like, look at JL, look at Emma, look at these people. We said, well, they haven't had any LAN experience.
Yeah.
And guess what?
I just don't think like those Bulgarian boys care. Whenever you like see interviews from them, they're like, I don't care. Like they're just so nonchalant about everything. I think it'd be solid. I quite like him as a player.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway.
Let's move on. So let's stay in North America and let's move sideways and then probably more sideways and then probably down, I would say. First sideways move is Complexity. They've nabbed a liege from Liquid. It's not really a big talking point other than the fact that I think it was probably to cement themselves as North America's premier org, the right move.
Also, basically the best hand they can make. Like the other one we talked about was Swisher. I'd rather have a liege. I think Elite was not good enough for Liquid, who Liquid want to be a top 10 team in the world. Complexity don't. They're never going to be. They're not good enough. The players just simply aren't good enough to be a top 10 team in the world. So it's not a conversation. I think if they're thinking they are, that's delusion. There's just no chance they will be a cemented top 10 team in the world. But I think for where they are and what they do... I
think they can now peak at top 10. I think it's possible. I think, of course, not staying there for a long period of time, but I think they can at least peak there now.
I think generally speaking, for them to believe that they can actually be a top 10 team is a big ask.
The reason why I'm saying this is because I need you to see how many close BO3s that they've lost to top 5 teams in the world. And I think the thing that actually made them lose those key games was not anything like they didn't have good enough players, they didn't have like enough firepower, they didn't have good enough strats. I don't think it was any of those things. I think it was purely mental, where they would just get checked out on a full eco, they would lose to a full eco, or they would lose to like a half buy. The money would get just absolutely thrown into disarray for the last 3 rounds. They would have a scuffed buy. Their mental would be completely boomed.
Yeah.
Players start making just abysmal mistakes. You've seen Hauser come to camp just banging his desk like an absolute...
But then again, I don't think Elige is the most mentally stable person, because Elige with the
No,
lost year...
I know that. I know that for sure.
Kill himself on this face cam.
But to me, I know when a player like that comes onto a team that has won championships, it completely shifts the mentality of a team that are full of youngsters that have not actually won anything in their careers, but want to. Now their complete dynamic has shifted, where they actually can start believing again that they have some potential. I mean, when this team was first created, it was created to be like an NA super team for the greatest prospects of all of the upcoming North American talent. I mean, Fang was coming from I believe Extra Salt.
Yes.
Grim was coming from Triumph, and then you had JT and. What do I think? Junior was, I think, the opera at that time. And he was also coming from Triumph. Or sorry, he was coming from Fury at that point, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Off the race then there.
Right. But I think that it was an org that was meant to kind of start showing that, NA has some talent.
Yeah.
And they never had that young player, that old experienced player to kind of keep them in check. They always had very glass cannon personalities. And even when Hauser came onto the roster, it was always that. It was still that way. I mean, obviously they got firepower with him, but they didn't get that stability mentally. And I think that Elige can completely do that for this team. And I'm seeing it through the interviews. I'm seeing it just just how the faces of all these players. They don't look like they want to lose anymore. That's kind of how they looked throughout so many of those close best of threes. And that's why I really like it. I think that at first I think Elige just needed a change of scenery. I think that he wasn't given enough space or time. In the roles that he had, and he had to make sacrifices. I don't think he has to make sacrifices here with the contract that he's paid for. I think he can say or do whatever the fuck he wants. Yeah. I think he'd like that. And I think that's going to change.
Who was it the Complexity lost to in that Cato playoff game when they missed out by... Was it VP?
VP.
Yeah. I thought it was VP, yeah.
There was VP, and then there was FaZe in...
upper bracket.
Yeah, upper bracket EPL. Yes. I think they were close against Na'Vi at one point. And it was again third map.
I agree that I think they had one I don't think this is the step that lets them win big S tier LAN events.
I don't think they're gonna win LAN events, but I think that at least make playoffs. Which is what they've been looking for quite some time.
I think this is a step that could easily make that happen if we've seen
what
the old roster had done. So
Fang was a problem. It's very.
Definitely.
You could just see it. In and out of the server was an issue there. Performances were so mid, so it's a very good change. Any person that was available, if they had the ability to pick up any NA person, literally Elige is the best person they could have gone for. That was kicking around, barring if they wanted to go NAF, it wouldn't make sense, obviously. Yeah. I think it's a really good change. I still personally just don't think they're going to be a team that's ever going to compete in anything. But I don't think they'll be delusional enough to think that they can, because they can't. They're not going to beat the big boys like G2 or Heroic. They're never going to compete with those guys. I'm talking specific tournaments, absolutely, because we all know.
You're saying long term.
I'm talking consistently. We're never going to talk about this team as an elite team who are always there. They can make playoff runs, of course they can. This team is. We've already seen that they can make these deep playoff runs, and especially if they get a good bracket, who knows where they can go. But I don't think they're going to be a consistent elite team. However, I don't think they think that either. I think this is they're bringing on an aged Elige who's come off the back of probably the worst year of his career ever, probably.
Yes.
So they're just hoping they can find.
There's a reason why you went for a buzz cut.
Exactly. Yeah. They're hoping they can just find
buzz cut. That boy is bald.
Well, bald. Yeah.
There ain't no buzz or fuzz on that. That motherfucker shiny.
Cue ball. Cue ball. Yeah, talking about Paul the other night. That's the cue ball.
Alright, Leash, mate. Good to meet you. But no,
like my dad would say, zero across the top. That's all it was.
Yeah. Well, what trends you want? Squeaky clean, mate.
Yeah.
But no, new year, new me, and all that. But no,
in July.
Hey, new player year. New CS year.
So what are we saying? 6.5? 6.
Do you know what? For complexity specifically, I think it's like an 8 because
I
really
was gonna go 8.
I think they've solved the biggest issue, which is Fang. Like he just was not performing, and also I think there's also a big thing you could just see like some of the cams and stuff. Like I think this guy want to be here. Like he looks uncomfortable. Just I think they solved the biggest problem with the best solution. So I really like it. Like I said, I don't think they're going to be a team to compete, but I don't think they think they are. I think they're just going to see what happens and hope, and then go from there.
You've got a great core now. Grim, Liege, and Hauser. That's an exciting core. It had to have been Fang previously, and now that Fang isn't there,
I choked on my chin.
It's exciting. But
can't stop the flop.
After that, now if you want to make more decisions, Floppy's one that you can think of, and then JT, if you want to bring in the UIGL, that's also a possibility.
I personally think Grim and Floppy right now are untouchable. I think
those
guys are so...
I have no issue with Floppy.
Else.
I know people have discussed about it, but if I had to make a change, I'd make a change with JT, which means you'd also have to make a coaching move because I don't think one or the other would stay. I think they're a package deal. So I think TC and JT would have to go, and then you just change the system. Like you can try NAIGL, but I really we'll talk about M80 like later down the road. But like,
who is an NAIGL? I can't even think of another one.
You've got Walco, you've got Ben Lee,
Stanislaw.
Ben Lee, I actually quite like Ben Lee. Actually,
you could try. Ben
Not
Lee.
saying that he's going to make this team a top team.
But then you've got firepower issues again.
Yeah.
So that's why I'd maybe go to M80.
JT's kind of cracked.
He's got some good entries.
I challenge Melbourne that he pulled off just the most in like double
Cave in
1v4.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that clip had me. I was in the green room. It's like 7 a.m. I've been up since like 1. I'm like just a dead man inside. I'm a corpse of it. I'm a shell of a man. And I look over. I see him get brings it down to 1v3. And I'm like, I'm just wasting our time here. Jumps over the box, spots the guy. I'm like, hang on. I sit up a little bit. Kills the guy. I'm like, no way.
I walk up to that.
And he walks up the ramp. I sit up a little bit. One tap flick. I'm like, oh, so like really freaking out. And then he doesn't go forward. He goes back. He's like, oh my god, he's caught it perfectly. The guy's running from long.
Right.
And it was the most insane clip ever. If you haven't seen it, go watch JT's 1v4 from Melbourne. WT against
Ecstatic.
Yes, I think it was. Yeah. Sick clip. Warren Green's 8. I mean, that's a.
I'll go. I think it's not going to be. It's perfect for complexity, and I do agree. I'm going to go 7.5 just to be annoying.
Go for it.
So more sort of sideways because there are sort of huge pluses and minuses to this. So I'm going to stay in the sort of this region and talk about Furia. So
we can rattle through.
So
we can
rattle through a couple of these. I think Furia have replaced Safe and Drop. They've gone to MIBR, incidentally. We probably won't have time to talk about them, but they've gone to MIBR, which is good for MIBR. It's actually a pretty decent pickup for MIBR.
It's not great for MIBR, but it's mid overall.
It's mid overall. And Furia have gone for Cello. Now, hello. That is really nice, taking Cello from Imperial. But
Cello for Drop is a really big
Cello for Drop is brilliant.
I still think Cello's the second best Brazilian rifler. If I was going to go on potential, I think
I go third. I'd still rate Yuri over.
Okay. I love Cello just because I think he can do everything a little bit.
That's true. I mean, diversity wise.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, K-Trial's untouchable, but I just love Cello, dude. I think I've also casted and watched a lot of highlight bits and just dude, this guy.
His highlights are
events.
mega.
Man, at events, whenever Cello's there, it's like I know I'm in for a show here, so I'm always quite excited.
Also, though, they have bought out not just one player from Imperial, they've bought out 2, and guess what?
So
they've played $700,000.
Real is what they said.
Okay.
Actually, no. I think it is dollars, but the real was like $1 million.
Real, yeah.
And for Mr.
I think it was dollars. I think that's what HTV had.
For Mr. Gabriel Toledo, otherwise known as Fallen, and I think it can help them, but for that much money, I think that's a stretch.
Where are they getting this money, dude? Like
it's so
that's
weird
more than every other org's paying a bar and device.
It was $600K.
Bar and device move is not the most expensive move ever. Like it's just insane. Where the Furia? What are Furia? What are they? Where do they have this money?
Why?
Why are Furia?
It's just like I get it in some ways, but. I think
they put up a billboard, didn't they? They put up a billboard in
Times Square.
Times Square,
It's like this tiny, dinky little square, and they're like, "Oh, we got him in Times Square." And it's like this. It's like on the side of like.
Yes, probably costs about £4. Like I could have done that for the stream.
That was so funny. Like the little picture was like zoomed in too.
Yeah,
Probably actually legitimately costs like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. It's probably so expensive actually, even though it's about the size of a cardboard box.
Yeah. But I think as far as the opping is concerned, I know people didn't like Safe in that roster, but I don't think he was so bad that we had to drop this guy. I really did.
I agree.
And I think he had signs in domestic talent that he was still showing enough promise. I think Drop had to go. I think Drop definitely, like, if you're getting Cello, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I would say though, just generally, I think a lot of people look to that team like Drop's the issue. Like Drop plays all the worst roles.
He's definitely not the issue.
But you're spot on. Like it's like if they've dropped Drop for like. Yeah, I hate that joke. It was so unfunny.
It did numbers though, which is insane.
It pisses me off. I could have really sold my soul for a drop jokes for ages, but if they dropped him for like just some random dude from like God knows who, Fluxo or like MIBR or Pain or whatever team, right? I would have been annoyed with it because I think this guy's getting flack for no reason. But the fact there's Cello is like absolutely, I would drop half the team for Cello.
No, I agree. The thing is for Drop as well. Why you say he might not be the problem? I also think he really struggled under pressure in big games for Fury. He was
young
not,
guy though. He's like, wasn't he like 18, 19? Or
he's young.
He is very young.
He's young, but like. I thought, obviously Honda didn't work like back in the day. Like that was only temporary anyway.
Yeah.
But I think Jock was obviously
that first game on that first map.
Them two aces.
Zelsys syndrome. Zelsys syndrome. But yeah, I think Drop was obviously a lot better, but he's still, even though he was kind of, as you say, in tough situations nearly every single time and whatever position he played, I still think he really struggled under pressure. And as you say, Cello is like the perfect upgrade. And I think adding Fallen, his numbers haven't been awful. And I think in North America he can still do fine. The problem is, like, if we just ignore the price and just talk about the addition, I think it will work to a certain extent. But I also think, one, it's not a long-term choice because it's literally CS2's coming up and everything's going to be changing. And who knows whether that will work for Fallen. York's nice in CS2, but it's not that nice.
Ain't rolling them back 10 years.
No, it isn't. But yeah, I think short term it's going to really help them in terms of experience for people like K-Serato and Yuri, because they still haven't won anything. Fury have not won shit. Not since ESEMDL season, whatever.
K-Serato's getting a real sweet amount of that Tabson treatment right now. Just sticking around with his countrymen for the sake of losing.
The final one in the coffin is these IGLs, and you're just like, God damn it.
K-Serato, like Tabson 5 years ago, went international, be one of the best riflers of all time. But instead, he's stuck with this bum-ass region.
It's like, the reason why I have an issue with it is that I think that Fallen is just such an outdated IGL. Like, you look at his map pool, the guy can't play Vertigo. He permabans ancient.
The map was awful.
Can't play Vertigo, permabans ancient, can't really play nuke because that was the previous permaban, and now they brought it into the pool. It's really not that great. Inferno is alright, and then Overpass is good. But yeah, I think beyond that, it's like, what is he really going to add to the depth of Fury at this point,
But the biggest issue I have with it is, alongside that, is he tweeted like 5 months ago, it's probably my last year competing.
Yeah.
And then he's made a 600 grand or 700 grand move.
And I'm sure there's like, stipends and stuff that he'd get for, selling a certain amount of money or a certain amount of jerseys or something like that.
Yeah.
Some quota that he hits that he's going to get even more money, It's just wild. And then you add the big elephant in the room is, what the hell is Art going to do now?
My boy, unlucky. So yeah, I mean, rating wise, for me, Cello would make this like a 9 alone. Yeah. That move is chef's kiss. But
I'm gonna go 6. Because I really do like the Cello move so much.
But the Fallen move knocks it back. The only thing I hate about this, I don't think Fallen's a bad player. I think he's still got for a South American team. I think he's still got it. Like they'll farm that region without any problem.
They'll qualify for all these majors.
They'll play all the big tournaments.
That's not what my issue is. That's not what they're aiming for. They're aiming to finally win some damn trophies, man. You've got arguably the best rifle in the world.
The only problem for me, though, thinking about it, is if it wasn't safe, who are they picking up all-wise apart from Zevi?
Yeah.
My boy. Save him, please. He is saved. Sorry, save Skulls, please. Should we say 6? I feel like that's actually pretty adequate. Like, I think the Cello move is incredible. Like, I just love that dude so much.
Let's,
I think he's so good.
I am more of a lover of Furia now than I think I was before.
Oh yeah. Quesaro and Cello.
At least it's not a dead team.
It's
at
not.
the very least.
It's not.
Yeah.
Quesaro, Cello, Yuri. I mean, I'm like what I'm saying.
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah. So what do you want to do?
Let's speed through some of the EU international.
EU. Let's just start here and do some of these real quick.
Okay.
Sprout 2, all shit. Rawls and Spook. Rawls? How's he getting team? Spook's so mid. Wonderful's really good.
I'll give it a 4 just because of Wonderful.
Yeah, Wonderful's
he's
very good.
4 for Wonderful. I'll go with.
But I'm going for 2.
Falcons.
9.
Sick. 9. This is the best.
9.
No.
Yeah.
9.
This is. I might even go 10. I think this is the best change of any team. The best upgrade that any team's made. No. I think across the block. No.
The amount of
team,
rankings jump was probably going to be the biggest from this team.
No team's made as good of a change of where they were to where they are now as Falcons. Sorry, this is the most incredible change. They brought on probably the most exciting rifler, generally bar Immer from the major of Boros. He has his pitfalls, but if they get fixed, it can be incredible. They brought on the guy from last year who had all the potential but couldn't do it under Sprout. I don't think it was all his fault, but obviously he has his pitfalls, but he's an incredible talent. And then they brought on an Orpa who was way too good for Endpoint, was stuck in that team, but was out so good at one point. Naf made him his bold prediction, wanted to pick him up, didn't end up, should have, went OC instead. This isn't such an incredible core to pick up. Under MBK, I love this.
Yeah, MBK and Body, who have seen literally everything. They've played with some of the biggest egos in Counter-Strike in France.
And Body proved in the second left heat that team fell apart and he went on to higher thing.
Yeah.
This is incredible. This is unironically a solid top 25, if not higher team, with a shadow of a doubt.
I can't wait to see them play, not let alone on LAN, but online as well. I think they're probably, I don't know for sure, but they're probably going to play in that Thunderpick EU tournament. They're going to get invited to either playoffs or one of the first.
I think they are playing EU1. Yeah,
they are playing EU1. Yeah, that's just so exciting.
They'll be CCTs as well, right? They'll get into
playoffs.
The
playoffs
invites. It's such a superb team. I agree with every single point. They've managed to pluck one of the Paris stars as well, right? They missed. They couldn't.
That's crazy. Yeah,
they couldn't get JL. They couldn't get Emma. They couldn't get Cypher, who may or may not be on TSM, which we'll get onto another time. But yeah, to get Boris is up there for absolutely no doubt. Absolutely love that team.
I think of the transfer window, in my opinion, this is the best moves in terms of. I don't think obviously it doesn't make them immediate tier 1 team, but from where they were to where they are now, for me that's I think it's the best.
For Misuta, Python, and Kyojin,
especially Python, that guy sucked.
Yeah. I think it says a lot in general that we're probably rating this one as good, if not better, than Cloud9. This is on par with the Cloud9 move.
Of course, it's all relative. In some senses.
Yes.
But that's what I mean. Yeah, it's from where they were to where they are now, this is an incredible change. On paper, obviously, might not be the same, but we all thought this about Sprout and it didn't work out, so who knows?
Yeah. I'm just going to quickly mention Big. We don't know what Big is really a little bit confusing. They've managed to get Mantu. I'm really happy to see Mantu on the team again, but obviously they haven't really been able to sort that out at all recently because they've had to use half of the academy squad for Cologne.
Because the academy team we qualified for.
Because the academy team we qualified, so through Meisterschaft, as you say. Yeah, it's a little bit of a rough one, but I mean, it's still cool to see Mantu playing, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out. Now, one that I think we all like is obviously Spirit finally upgrading. That was probably one of the first rumours of the entire transfer window, actually, was them bringing in Zontix. And of course, our little goat Donk, our little young goat, of course.
He's now 17.
He's now 17, and Artfrost, of course, as well.
Arguably, if you look around now, probably the most exciting prospect we've seen since Manesi. I don't think there's been any young kid who's come through who's been as exciting as Donk. First season in FBL when he was 15, first month, he won it. Yeah, it was and then the kid comes through.
Another one spawned.
It's like GG. It's oh my god, the region just pumps them out. But I think as much as Donk and also Artfrost take a lot of the. Alright?
It's okay. There's something outside.
Alright. As much as kind of Donk and Artfrost take a lot of praise, Artfrost incredible AWP as well, and they kind of Zontix, man, that guy is seriously good. He is seriously good as well. So I think personally, that for me is an 8. This team is exciting.
8's a good call.
Really like Donk and Artfrost was so good in the Academy League. Granted, you have to retake that a massive caveat because that league is kind of mid in terms of the ability.
Yeah.
And we saw so many players dominate who have not dominated since. Koff Torsley, Koff Fessa. But, at the same time, they then ended up finishing second place in ECL, only losing to Apex fresh off the back of finishing top 4 in Major. So yeah, this is a really exciting change under Chopper as well. We all love Chopper.
We all like Chopper. Yeah.
I think their biggest task now is just qualifying for these tournaments. It's going to be really tough.
Because they were always Chopper put out like a tweet long or something complaining about how it's so hard for Spirit to get qualified for these events because they're not being a partner, not a partner for Pro League. They're not a partner. Obviously ECL, they do good in ECL to qualify, but. And the Blast circuit, we all know how hard it is to qualify for any of those.
Well, the big problem with the Blast circuit is I was casting the East side with Cloud9. They didn't get an invite.
Yes, and that's what they complained. That's what Chopper complained about.
Domination, who have had so many cheating allegations thrown at them by pros, who are like, I can't remember. It's like Color, I think, is like the only name I really remember.
Color, like KOL.
Yeah. Like one of the ex Budapest 5 guys. Yeah, former Koana, former Budapest 5. Those guys got an invite over Spirit, and then Spirit did a tweet being like, hello. So yeah, that's the only thing. Not being a part of the team might hold it back a little bit, but if they're as good as they are, they should make it regardless. So.
Should we quickly mention Astralis as well? Because they're a mess, but they've actually finally got the main man stare. Yeah. They've finally decided to move on from Glaive once and for all. And Hunden, thank God.
Who's gone to Sashi with Raging. Sashi. Two back banned cheaters who are like banned from RMRs, not like for like 5 years. They're one of the few. It's like those two and what was the Hard Legion coach? Zona. Like, they're like one of like the few who are like perma. Like you will never be allowed to step foot of Valve Major, and 2 out of like 3 have joined forces at Sashi.
That's so crazy.
Just a joke.
Avengers.
That's Thanos and co.
Yeah.
He's going
to join
Sashi is Thanos getting all the stones. Zona's going to come in as the analyst soon, just flying around the map.
But yeah, they finally parted way with the Thanos himself in Hunden, but also Glaive, who was I've said for ages on these podcasts we've done together that Glaive is outdated on Astralis and they need to move on. They finally did. Blame's going to be IGLing, as I thought would probably be the best decision, like he did on Complexity, of course, a while back. They've got their main man Stare, they wanted forever. They brought in Borup, which actually people might say, it's very sideways, but I think he can do a good job in the tough roles that he's probably been put in.
I think it's an upgrade over what Wisros was. I think it's kind of, I think it's, I like Oltex, I just don't think he really could like do it just yet. He's saying Mister, he's actually a fairly decent talent, but I just don't think he's ready yet. But, I kind of think he's like mid, but at the same time, it's like, who else can they possibly really pick up? There's no other actually tier 1 prospects. Like, then you're looking into like Ecstatic. The only one who they could pick up.
I was thinking of Esatag would have been fun, but I don't know if he will.
The only player from Denmark who's even remotely capable, may I say, of playing at a tier 1 level who's not. Right now for me is Crown or Kragan from Ecstatic.
Kragan's good.
Yeah, he's good. But he's also a hero rifler, so he wouldn't play Borrowed Trolls anyways. So I actually think it's probably the best move they could have made. That barring Esatag.
In terms of money, they probably would have not had enough.
Oh, you got one on free as well.
What?
You got one on free.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they did.
Especially when you think about it.
Mad Lions is dead.
And like, he was Flames Boy, wasn't he, as well? And they also died.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's back-to-back dying, I actually think when you think about it, it's actually quite good business. It's shrewd business, as you said.
I'd give it like a 6, I think.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best thing they could have done. If they were going to finally move on, probably the best options they could have taken.
Stairs super talented.
So I'll take a 6 on that one. So I think probably we'll skip through a few of the other ones at the bottom. We've got probably 2 more which are really interesting.
Yeah.
So let's start with Mal's. Now this is probably I would actually put Mal's 3rd place overall and probably best decisions they could have made. Yeah. Like we've got Cloud9 Falcons. Then Mal's maybe for me, because they've finally brought back Shuri and they've got the GOAT from the Academy from Mal's NXT in Impact. So
it's shrewd business again.
Probably the best thing they can do.
Also, just saying, whoever's Mal's is like business contract person genius, putting a buyback clause in like in your like Academy players is so smart, dude. Because like you never know, right? And like obviously for Gamer Legion, when they got the opportunity to sign a really good IGL for probably actually not a lot of money, generally speaking, because they're not a hugely rich org. And then having a buyback clause just like lingering there, it's so smart. Because
I think it's great for both parties because now Gamer Legion has staying power, saying we were major finalists, so maybe we can garner some talent, right?
Exactly.
Obviously, the signings that they made weren't like the most massive things in the world.
Yeah,
but I honestly don't think those signings would have even happened if they hadn't made the finals of the major. You know,
Yeah.
like, there's like now a belief that the core of those players can actually do something.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's really great. And of course, now for Shuhei, I'm so glad he didn't go to a top org like FaZe, G2, or Navi because I think he needs time to gestate at tier 1 on a regular basis. So let him just cook with all of these styles of tier 1 players and get comfortable with that partner mentality. Yeah. And then finally, after proving himself, which I have a very high expectation that he will, once he gets to that point, that's when, the FaZe, G2, Navi, whatever the next move is, feels comfortable for him, and there's not as much pressure having to take on that kind of a big behemoth of a roster.
And when you look to all the success of Miles in XT, the first 3 seasons we played Academy League, it was all Xerxin and Torzi under Shuhei. Yeah. So now we've got.
Can he reactivate Torzi then? Can Shuhei reactivate Torzi?
I still think Dex has a problem with Orbers. The only thing personally with Dex is like the reason why I personally think, obviously we've seen what's happened with Acor, and then obviously Torzi coming in, because what Torzi was doing before, granted, NXT and Academy level is like tier 3 in comparison to tier 1, but when you see the way he played, like so timid and always so passive, which is never Torzi, he was a shotgun AWPer. But the other thing was he always, I find it funny, any opportunity he gets, Dexter will just take the AWP, and he's like, dude, if you want to AWP, just AWP, like just say, but like
go full MSL.
Yeah, he won't like do the AWP IGL thing, like. Dude, go ahead. Like it kind of felt like he was always like, oh no, like towards like you AWP, and then the second he died, like like run over and pick it up, and like yes, like he get his moment, like yes, let's go. So it's sure he obviously knows to use AWPs really well. He revived Acor's career. Acor's career was done. He was like realistically, like he was. I mean, granted, probably in the same boat as BMAS. We were like, GG, like this guy's done. Like he bombed it. No one's gonna take the gamble on him anymore. And he's single-handedly brought this guy from being nothing to now actually one of the better AWPers in the tier 1.5 space. And then Jimfat as well. We were talking about best at prospects. If Donk's number 1, which I still think he is, Jimfat's number 2.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Very, very confident. It's also shrewd business. It's free. 2 guys. Shuhei's buyback probably wasn't incredibly expensive, especially for a team with deep pockets like Miles, and Jimfat's free. It's sick. And I look at that team now. You got Xerxin and Frozen as the big riflers who will do all the work. Torzi, if you can get back to that Miles and XT confidence, scary prospect. Shuhei, incredible, not entry rifler. He's actually very selfless, but also a really good caller, as we saw with Game Legion, and his ability to make everybody else feel comfortable and play nice. And you've got Yimfat, who, obviously his stats, we can talk about that all day, but just raw potential is scary.
He's just he's got a lot of complexity to his game already, which is just shocking at the age that he's at. You don't expect him to have that kind of a performance. Granted, it's in the academy roster, but I'm looking at it like maybe there's a world where this guy eclipses Sergey's achievements. Really, it's not that big of a
the brother.
That's not like a big task. Obviously, he's got 1 major finalist. He's won a couple of lands, but I think that there is a world where GMFAT can eclipse that of Sergey, and that's so exciting.
Is it 7th he got in like his first year? Wasn't it?
Something crazy like that.
I know it was top 10. I think it might be 7.
But he won a Blast Pro Series, and then he won. Obviously, he got Kato major final. And I think that's impressive enough. Actually, I think he was top 4 at Berlin as well. So
true. And don't forget, of course, as well that replacing JDC, who I think we're all in agreement that
it should have happened a long time. And I'm surprised that they actually made
up like originally. I don't think he was there for. It was
I think he got the call up because Cyclone and JDC built NXT originally. So I was actually fully expecting that JDC would be a mainstay on this team and they would forever be like bottlenecked. But I'm actually shocked that Cyclone and head management of that roster made that decision to pull JDC up, to pull Yimfat up in the main roster. So credit to them.
Does come the other way, right? We spoke about this quite a few times on the podcast of. What's Cyclone actually like as a coach? Because I think we've got to start getting to the point now where if Shuhei goes back into the team and then everybody else still like the team still play like weirdly and things not the way Mal should be, then it is actually Cyclone the issue, right? But like now we know we can make the hard decisions. He's got to JDC, which must be not the easiest decision to do. To fair play, we mentioned on podcast like 3-4 episodes ago, which is in our time like a year and 4 months ago. But we were saying like does he have the balls? Like, does he have the gall actually to cut these kids who he's like kind of growing up with and whatever? But he does. So fair play to him. But yeah, overall rating, I think spot on. So probably like the third best.
I
think that's what they've done.
8, 9. Actually, no, I got like 9.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll give it, considering what they've done, and as you say, with the shoe buyback clause and the fact that I think also it kind of works out well with the Impact's roles as well compared to JDC. Like, he will also be
right. It's not uncomfortable.
It's not uncomfortable at all. So yeah, I completely agree. I'm happy to give it a 9. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk about Into the Breach now.
Yeah, Into the Breach.
I guess we can combine that with Gamer Legion as well.
We'll combine it.
Exactly. Yeah. So Into the Breach, minus Volt, minus Cypher, plus BMAS, plus Neofrag.
Nice to see BMAS back.
Yeah, nice to see BMAS back. I don't think there's a lot to give. He's also still actually very young. He's been away for a while. Obviously, we all saw the unemployed meme still.
Yeah, he's been putting the job applications, that's for sure.
But I think I actually don't mind these changes. I thought when they were going to make changes,
getting Neofrag is such a steal.
Yeah. Genuinely. So if they can get Neofrag back to Sinner's Neofrag form,
you've got a gold mine of a rifle.
Then there's a guy we talk about potential who could be ridiculous. BMAS is actually the question mark. But from what we see from Gamers 8 quals, he's actually going back to BMAS, who's lurking BMAS, which is the nice.
That was the best BMAS.
That's where BMAS does his best work, where he's not like some entry rifle or some pack rifler. Just BMAS going to do what you want, and actually that makes him super scary. Granted, obviously, the Gamers 8 quals didn't go that well overall, but at the same time, they lost.
There's some teething issues.
Yeah, they lost on the third best of one, which is relatively deep in all things.
Yeah, if you're going to look alongside the people that also lost, Spirit, OG, Mouse, exactly. It's not the end of the world.
And they'd only had 4 days of prac at that point, so I think it's super early. I don't mind it. I think it's a pretty potential wise. BMAS, if we can get him back. Okay, realistically, this is not a team that are going to make top 8 at a major. Again, that was such a fabled run, which is why.
Hey, maybe they can push for a legend stage. I mean,
yeah. I think this is a team that should be aiming towards challenger stages of a major.
Getting that sticker money.
Getting the sticker money. That they should get through the RMR. Realistically, there should be like a team. When we see teams like OG who get through, it is the same. They should start being synonymous kind of with them in that sort of level. So honestly, I don't mind it. I kind of like it. BMAS has a lot of potential still to give. He's still young. Isn't he like 19 or 20? I don't think he's that old.
He's young,
yeah.
Considering what ITB have lost as well, they've lost Volt and Cypher, who are the core of it being a British team, apart from Thomas, obviously, who IGLs anyway. But yeah, you've lost. You mentioned the stars from Paris. Cypher is that other star.
Yes.
That is the one that's on that list who really made a name for themselves in Paris. And I think to lose him and Volt, who of course is incredibly talented, I think that's probably the 2 best pickups you could possibly have gone for.
Absolutely.
Overall. So I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to give it a 6.5, 7.
The only thing I would say is, for me, this just kind of feels, to a degree, like ITB have lost their identity.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because, I mean, Cypher wholeheartedly was the heart and soul of this team, right?
Yeah.
And he was the one that defined that aggressive, super in-your-face style Counter-Strike. That, I feel like Rollin, Crucial, Thomas, these are the kind of players that kind of follow around Cypher and become aggressive because of those players, because of him, right? And so now if he's not there, are they going to retain that same kind of aggressive identity, especially with a slower player like BMAS and a more calculated player like Neofrag?
Very good points.
Are they going to be able to do that? I mean, if they can, then you've still got players that can do that.
Yeah.
And if you have BMAS as like a trump card in the back to kind of just activate at the very end, that can add a new depth to that roster, which could be really exciting. So I think they've got to give them some time to add in a new lurking element into the roster.
There wasn't a playstyle they used as well. Volt didn't play as a lurking player. If you go and pound replaces like Neofrag into Cypher's roles, BMAS into Volt's roles. Volt wasn't really a lurking.
Much more supportive.
Yeah, exactly. He was a support rifler. So it's actually going to be a different look. It's no longer going to be like Cypher go kill in a way with Neofrag, but obviously he can do that. Then
Yeah, I think it's not bad. I'm happy with a 7 on that one. Probably the best possible choices.
7, yeah.
Any other way, Gamer Legion.
Any other way, Gamer Legion. Yeah, I mean they've managed to grab Volt, which I think is a very nice piece of business to actually grab.
It's a good pickup.
It's sideways-ish, but yeah, I think it's still probably one of the best decisions. Incidentally, we haven't mentioned them because we don't really care, to be honest. We've actually mentioned many times.
Yeah.
E.g., they tried signing. I put it here. They tried signing Elige. They tried signing Jax. They tried signing Zorta. All of them.
Electronic as well.
Electronic as well. Yes.
Yeah.
They've all fallen through. So they've ended up moving E.g. Black up with Automatic as their main roster. And they lost Nilan, and now he's going to be on Gamer Legion with Volt.
EG and mid.
Mid is
Mid's
very
actually
kind.
That's actually too kind.
Okay.
I think that
EG are bad.
the thing about
Wolf
Nealon
team.
is like his stock was always gonna be shit coming out of EG.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
So I'm actually shocked that he
Back
got
with
this
Kios though, that's a good call. I like that.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
the team with Simon that qualified
K23. K23 as well. I
and
think,
Simon. Yeah, The Simon team is the one that made the
Simon
with
Berlin.
Perfecto, yeah.
in Berlin.
Simon
Yeah.
Gaming.
Oh, that one
My
made
God, what a
Berlin.
fucking throwback.
Uh,
They
so-
saw a little blue spinny logo.
Yes. Yes.
Ramzik boss.
Ramzik boss.
Yeah.
Oh.
Actually, got caught in match fixing like after he left. So
Yeah. Yeah. Not too much of a boss anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or like Ramsey bot.
But honestly, like now it's like if Nealon's shit here, then yeah, his career is dead. But like
Yeah.
exciting.
This is the time to revitalize, right? This is the only time we get to revitalize.
But replacing Shuei and MA is always going to be a tough call. So okay, maybe this isn't so bad.
Why am I getting slandered? Why am I getting slandered? Where's the...
Just for context, Neo is in an Instagram group apparently with some people I don't know.
It's my school friends.
His school friends, and they're calling him short for some reason.
You're
I'm
saying-
the short one here. Okay.
He's the half.
They're saying
Yeah,
I'm
he's
standing
a
on my,
full guy.
I'm
standing
not a
on my
half talent.
tiptoes every bit.
I'm not a half talent, but I'm a half guy. That's how-
They said I stand on my tiptoes every picture. That's a lie. So,
So how much do we have left?
Game of Legion.
That's
That
pretty
would,
much. Do you want to call that like a 5?
I think it's even nicer than mission. I think I like Volt, but like, is he gonna change the world in this team? Not really.
Yeah.
Is Neelan gonna change the world?
It's
in this
not the
team?
right
No.
role for him.
They're gonna
Like,
fly down the ranks.
Yeah.
They're not gonna make another major like with this team, in my
Yeah.
opinion. You know,
5, 4, maybe.
I love Seb. Volt, he's a super nice dude. I'm excited to see what they can do with Cologne. Are they going to do well at Cologne? Probably not. But who knows? I think 5's adequate.
Yeah.
5 or 4.5 if we're going to be hard.
VP 2, Mir's a piece of shit. So it's a terrible. He's just, he's horrible. Like also every single thing was like he's just like a horrible person. And it was bad in
True.
what were they called? With Elian, what was the team? Entropic.
Entropic,
Yeah, it was just bad. He played one good game. Opening game, I casted it, his debut, Dust 2, dropped 35. I was like, oh my god, he's back. And then went 0.86 forever again. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. So probably the last two that we haven't discussed. One's not on this list. So we'll quickly say, I want to just quickly mention, because we mentioned Furia. I also want to quickly mention Imperial picking up Henny and Phelps. The problem with this move is that I think it's actually good, really good name value moves, right? Like they've all got storied histories in Brazilian Counter-Strike and EU Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Problem is, it feels more of a name value move than a form move. Phelps has not been anywhere really.
Yeah.
I think he took a break for health reasons, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
he did.
And Henny's was really good in MRBR, so this is a good move for him. But I don't see how they're ever going to get to
It was great 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So the exciting thing for me about that roster move is, of course, the obvious thing is that they're reuniting the Immortals core.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is, to me, I mean, when you think about the identity of Immortals, it was never a star player just takes over and just trounces another opponent. It's just that team synergy that they play off of one another. They know how to mid-round call. They know how to play very fast Counter-Strike. And, of course, we saw their peak at Krakow making the finals of that tournament.
Yeah.
So we know what they're capable of. Of course, the bracket was kind of scuffed, but regardless, they were able to do that. And so that's what I was really, really thrilled about. And then I think, Phelps had to take a break, but I still think that there was some major mental issues that he had with Fluxo and how he wasn't being given the star roles anymore, and that was kind of a struggle for him. I don't think that he's going to have that problem now that Bolt is going to be calling, essentially. Actually, I think it's Vinny that's calling, which is exciting. But yeah, I mean, Joda's still on that team, which is still a studded rifler. So I think they could still get it done. I don't think they're going to be poor. I think they could be in the contention for that last America spot. I think they can get themselves some sticker money.
I think so as well. One team I just realised we actually didn't even mention, that's not even on here, Fluxo. I think they've made one of the sickest pickups.
Right.
Personally.
Zevi's obviously there.
But I also think Fluxo seem to be making very expensive but good, but with good intentions with the business. They actually want to improve. So
I agree.
I'm
they've got money as well.
I'm happy they kept. I'm surprised that they kept Lukowski, because originally I think he was supposed to go to Imperial.
Yeah.
So they kept him. That was super awesome. And then you get to obviously have Zevi on the roster as well, which is super exciting to see him with.
an actual
Rip Payne, that team is going to be just useless now.
Yeah, Payne got the short end of the stick for sure.
Obviously, PKL went to Fluxo, yeah. So they've actually like kind of kept. I liked PKL calling. Yeah. So.
Of all the moves in Brazil, Payne have got the worst.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
Poor Bigazera, man.
Yeah.
And Skulls, obviously.
Yeah, my boy Skulls. But I guess
I think we can end it off the podcast with saying the TSM rumour. That's the only one that's not been confirmed. But I want to discuss the rumour.
One that's worth mentioning. MAT. I think it's
okay. Go.
I am so excited that this team exists. Swisher and Malms as a pairing is just so exciting, and the fact that they were still willing. I know you guys have your doubts about Manx. I also have my doubts about Manx.
It's just rogue, like it's so
it is rogue. It is rogue. You just randomly come.
The fact that they're open to having an EU IGL is super exciting for the future. Because if it doesn't work, they can have the pick of their litter out of all those tier 2 EU guys, and they'll be willing to come over.
And as much as I like when I take the piss out of Ecstatic, it's never really actually about Manx or things because he never traded an IGL. He just took over when Bedford Sky left, and he qualified for the first 2 challenges.
Right.
Yes.
Like they're not easy.
It was
Melbourne and Katowice, like some of the teams he was beating to get there, like fair play with the team that they have, apart from Kragan and occasionally no deal. So I think that was actually a really good signing.
Yes.
That's Ecstatic Gaming for
you. And MAD's already had a good result. They qualified for Thunderpick's main event.
Actually, kind of impressive.
Back-to-back wins, right? To kickstart things. Two opening wins. So they lost today.
Yeah, to Wildcard. But I think there's growing pains to just build an entire team from scratch like that. Yeah. But also having like Rec on your team as like your 3rd, 4th best player is like super, super exciting. And they can always, again, since they have only one EU player, they can switch out Wolfie for an EU op, and they can still retain NA core. So I think that sky's the limit for that roster. I'm so hopeful that they can just snag that last spot.
Yeah, once they've got all the spots in rotation from the old what core was ATK core.
I think they can just rotate.
Then if Wolfie is not playing, because he does ups and downs. Yeah. I really like Wolfie as a person individually, but again, he does up and down performances, a bit yo-yo-y at times. Exactly the same thing, right? They bring in the EU Orb, but Zorta's still kicking around somewhere, right? Yeah. Unsigned.
Still hasn't out of the team, yeah.
That could be really cooking on gas. But overall, I mean, you can take the rating here. It's pretty high.
I'm on 9, yeah. I'm just glad that NA has a new org, a really good org.
Would you like the CSGO as a new org, who actually spend big money? They do it in Valorant, at MAT, they spend big money there, so I quite like it.
And an org arriving and coming back. TSM, what do you think? So we've got the rumour from Nell, Cypher, Inters and Jax, with Xtaz being the coach.
Dude, poor Cypher, man.
I feel bad for Kai, man. He's going to struggle so hard.
I think so.
It's like Jax is washed. Inters is obviously good, but just no firepower. It's no firepower. So it's like unless Cypher gets some rifler who comes in who's going to really bolster the firepower.
Oh, and Dupree was also mentioned.
Yes. I think didn't he decide against it after it was leaked? Isn't that the?
I think he was just peeved, honestly.
Was he peeved?
That's what it sounded like. Yeah.
All right.
Fair enough.
But I just think even if it is Dupree or not, Cypher still needs.
That is 3 players in a very similar role across the board.
Which
is just appalling.
Yeah, but Inters and Dupree would clash regardless, right? So it's already. I mean, this. I don't know. I just don't see that team doing anything. If that is the team, Cypher, I think is a really nice bit of business because we saw we can do the major. We now know we can play tier 1 level. Consistency is the question. I love Kai, but he does have consistency issues. But
I don't think that team even makes the RMR.
Not from EU, no way. Unless they somehow manage to get into the Asia on, there's not a chance.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think if you're TSM who have money problems already, this is not expensive players, but it's still a commitment to achieve nothing.
The only reason I would have wanted FTX to stay around is so they had a better team.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that more or less covers all of them. I mean, the TSM one rumour so far, we're going to get 3 or 4. Yeah. I think Cypher's really good, but then Jax brings it down. But Inters also as a support player. Really
I bring it down for Inters just because I wish he picked a better team.
Yeah. Right. But that's it. I think for what was meant to be an hour 51, not too bad. Ladies and gents,
it's been a pleasure, guys.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully the audio was okay. I think we've probably done the best possible. Considering this was our semi-rush, this was.
Yeah.
I actually think this has probably been considering what we have to work with, this and on my webcam on top of my dad's spare laptop, I think, guys.
Thank you, Bruce Noble.
Oh my god! I think it's been an absolute pleasure, and I think it's probably been the best way we could have done it. And I'm very glad I can house you in my conservatory.
Yeah. But how's your food?
Stuff.
How's that burger?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, people, for watching. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. I think I got some follows. There's something here I can say thank you. Thank you, Tost420. Thank you, Captain Skeppy, another ITB boy, and thank you, Pavi King, for the follows. I appreciate it. Watching YouTube.
Enjoy editing that.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. That's going to be a fun one when I get home. But yeah, appreciate watching. It's been a pleasure. We'll see. We're in another episode. We'll be doing more, probably post-Blast. We go through Blast, through CS2, what we've seen so far of it. Yeah, pre-Cologne, essentially. Even talk about things like Valve talking about majors going into 2024, 25, etc. Stuff like that. We'll do all of that wonderful stuff at a later date. But until then, we're going to bid you all farewell. Thank you very much for joining us. Lots of love, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.
And we're ending the stream as well. 3, 2, 1.
Boom.
This is where it never